Hello, welcome to Media Pass. My name is Daniel Gooda, but this isn't about me. This is about videographers, talking to other videographers, just kind of getting an insight to, the conversations that we have and just everything that goes behind the scenes being a videographer. So today I've got an awesome guest, somebody I know well. He's an up and coming videographer from Western Canada. He's got a really creative eye, super fun to work with. He brings a great energy on set. He's just a really good person to talk videography with. I've worked with him a bunch of times, and let's just get right to it. Mac, how's it going, buddy? How are you?
Okay, so let's get into the thought process behind how I put together my office here.
And ever since I saw it the first time, I've been really interested in trying this technique out myself.
5 ways to instantly make better videos that you can start doing today.
What actually constitutes a transition?
Oh, let's go!
Hey Dan, I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good, man. Just getting through a long week, but I don't have to focus on that right now, so that's nice.
Nice. Yeah, that's true. It's you got a lot of stuff booked in this week or what?
It's mainly just catching up on stuff from like this year, I guess. But also just quote unquote trying to have like a week or two mentally off, but it's not being very successful. So it's just the usual, I guess.
Yeah, it's such a struggle. I always try to okay, I'm not going to do something. Like I'm going to not touch my laptop, not touch my camera. And I just always find myself either on my laptop or doing something. Like I can never just take an actual break.
100%. I try to see the positive in it and see it as like that's a good thing and that I'm able to work that career. But it's really hard sometimes to take a break for sure. What have you been working on lately?
So I got a couple super fun projects on the go right now, and then some not so fun client work projects that pay the bills. So I'll talk about the fun projects I got going on. Yeah. So there's a digital cinema rental. Shout out to Kelly. She was hosting a contest for like a free gear giveaway. So, full grip kit and camera package and basically anything you need from a rental house, you have it, no like limitations or anything. I'm just like, okay, so sent it to this local band that I know, all my buddies from Souk, and they won the contest. So then obviously they hired me to shoot the music video for them, and it's been pretty fun so far. We're still a couple more scenes to shoot. We've done 2 weekends already and we're about halfway done, but yeah, man, it's been a super fun project. Like just using all the extra gear, like having a crew that is still not very experienced, but really happy to be there is super awesome. But since it's not like a proper client work, I get to kind of do whatever I want, and it's pretty awesome, to be honest.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I mean, those are honestly, I've talked to a lot of people about this recently. I think those are probably the best projects, quote unquote, just because exactly what you're describing. There's no like creative limitations. You get to do whatever you want. You usually get to work with the best people because everyone's there for the right reasons, and not looking at their watch the whole time. So that sounds awesome. And what I've seen so far from your stories, and I think from the band stories that you've reposted, it looks amazing. So I'm really excited to see the finished product.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited. Like I said, it's still got 2 more weekends of filming, decent amount of scenes to go through, but it should be pretty good. They came up with the story idea, and I just kind of was like, it's a great idea. So got on board with it, and it's totally true. Like just having people on set, like for the most part, there's never really people looking at their watches, but from time to time you'll get that person who's just kind of there for the wrong reasons, I guess. And it's super great when people are just willing to go the extra mile and no complaints. It's super awesome.
Yeah, no, it definitely affects the finished product in my experience, at least.
100%. Oh yeah. I agree.
So let's loop back a bit here for the people who don't know Mac as well as I do. When did you start videography?
Yeah, so I probably started about 4 to 5 years ago, just kind of messing around, doing stupid videos with my friends and some really stupid vlogs. I can't even oh my goodness, I couldn't even look back on them. Like just really stupid stuff. But, I like was just doing it because it was fun and just for the memories. And then about 3 years ago, I started to take it pretty seriously and kind of dedicated myself. I'm like, okay, yeah, like this is what I'm going to do now. I kind of realized you can make a pretty good career out of it and just kind of went head first 3 years ago and been doing it ever since.
So what camera do you shoot on, and what editing platform do you use, and are you a Mac or PC guy?
Yeah, so I'm using the Sony a7 IV right now. Pretty good camera. It's honestly a like solid hybrid camera because I also do lots of photos and I'll do client photos sometimes, so I needed those extra megapixels. That's why I opted out of the S3. But yeah, it's a pretty solid camera. I don't really have any complaints about it. The only complaint I have is the crop at 4K 60 is kind of a bummer because sometimes you just need those wide shots at 60 frames per second, but you just can't get it. But yeah, I use Premiere, DaVinci to color grade from time to time if I want to go a little crazy with the grade, because Premiere is fine, but I really need to make the switch. Man, you're still a Final Cut Pro, right?
I am. I'm a Final Cut guy. I've tested the waters. Let's say I'm not avid in it, but I've tested the waters of both Premiere and DaVinci over the years. And especially recently, the updates that Final Cut has released have really allowed for a lot more capabilities out of the program that I don't even think a lot of people realize are there because they don't really make you read the update list.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, I mean, recently, for example, I was going to switch from Final Cut to Premiere and even to DaVinci.
Oh, really?
But yeah, as I did more research, found a videographer in Europe who his work is just top of the line, and found out that he used Final Cut, found out a little bit more about his plugins and things like that he uses. And yeah, I haven't had the need yet. But I mean, everyone has times where they're wrong, right? So
yeah, fair enough. I've had the need. Premiere Pro just like, it really lets me down like all the time. And I need to make the switch to DaVinci Resolve. I even have like a course just sitting there ready to go. I just got to dedicate the time to make the switch.
it's hard when you're
But
working.
there's just so many other things.
It's hard when you're working
Oh, yeah.
as a videographer to just switch camera bodies, software, things like that. You need that time to put in the man hours, and yeah, you just literally don't have that time sometimes. So
No, yeah, 100%. But DaVinci Resolve like just seems such like, I only use it for color grading here and there, but like from what I've heard, everyone else using it seems like a great platform.
I've
Like, software to use.
Don't get me wrong at all. I'm not putting down any of the other programs when I say that I'm a FCPX user, but DaVinci is clearly the best for color. If you're looking at color and you don't know about, hopefully I'm not pronouncing this wrong, but the Kazman, then you need to go check out his pages because like his color grading is Hollywood level, and yeah, he's all over DaVinci. So
I've almost bought his course so many times. I was getting hammered with his ads once. I was just
he's
almost did it. There was such a good sale. I should have done it.
If there's one creator who's put in the work, clearly, in my opinion, it's him. So you gotta support.
Yeah, his course looked good. It looked like it was worth the money, but I don't know why I didn't do it. I should have.
It's
just
hard
done it at the
nowadays.
time.
There's so many courses, but it's hard to differentiate between which ones are actually going to teach you something. And I don't know, at least that's my issue, but I didn't even realize he had a course, to be honest. But yeah, I definitely would advise checking that out to anyone listening.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like if you spend the time, you can really just like make a pretty awesome playlist on YouTube and just get so much free content.
YouTube
like,
University is
content.
the game changer.
Yeah, it's a real thing. It just makes it a little bit harder because in a course, like it's all nicely laid out from like start to finish. But if you just really spend the time on YouTube and you can curate a playlist that is almost start to finish.
It really is, yeah. You just got to find your the people who specialize in each department. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're out there. A lot of free information out there for sure.
Definitely. So what made you pick up the camera?
So like I started it with my phone and I had some moment lenses, but what really made the decision is like, I don't really care what people say. Like the new iPhone and iPhones, like especially back in the day, like they were fine, but I just don't think you can pull up on set and demand like a $1,500 day rate with an iPhone. Like you have to have a proper camera body. So that was like what I wanted to do, before I bought a camera body is like when I was serious about it, I was like, okay, I'm going to learn on my phone because I had like the Moment app and all this stuff. I was going to learn everything. And then once I can figured all this out, then I went and bought a camera body and then got some like proper client work. It's still dirt cheap, definitely not a $1,500 day rate, like doing stuff for like $200. Like, oh, I'll make you a music video for like $200. Like whatever I could do just to, get work at the beginning. And that's what like made me make the switch for sure. Because I don't care. I think it looks ridiculous to show up with just an iPhone on set. Maybe if it's fully rigged out, like in that Apple commercial, like it wasn't just an iPhone. It wasn't like they had a guy, like they had a crazy setup going with that iPhone.
If only, right? I fell for that in like 2000 whatever for the GoPro ad.
Yeah. GoPros are great for certain shots, but it's just like, you can't go film a feature on well, you could actually. You can film.
No,
anything.
I agree with what you're saying. It's a hard topic right now because of especially lately with the capabilities of the iPhone 15 and I think it was 14 when they came out with 10-bit video. But it's we've had this conversation many times. It's the same conversation as getting a matte box for the first time. It's unfortunate, but it bounces your appeal price, and unfortunately, but it's just how it looks. So if you're standing next to a photographer with the same camera, it's just how it looks. Yeah.
Yeah, just optics matter to clients, especially people. You got to think like people aren't as invested in camera technology as us, so the average person probably doesn't even know that an iPhone has such a great camera now. Like, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people don't, but you have to think like some of the clients like that I work with at least super awesome, but they don't really know a lot about video work. And if you showed up with an iPhone, they'd be like, okay, well, what the heck? Like,
I can do this myself.
They just have no idea.
100%.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
Exactly.
I think any videographer who knows at least about the quality of it and all the technology side of that will definitely agree, I think.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, that's what made me get my first camera bodies when I was like finally ready to do some bigger paid client work. And yeah.
So how did you get your first job on a set?
Good question. Let me think.
Because I think that's like, we always forget to explain the simple things and like the things that are now so common to us, but it's such an important answer for so many people. So yeah, if you can explain that like first time process that, and as well as you can remember it at least.
Yeah, for sure. So I think the first time I was on like a proper set with more than like 5 people, it was like an indie film. It was a pretty bigger indie film, I think. I don't even think it's out yet. I don't know what happened with it. But I got asked I knew a lady I went to high school with. She was like an actor, and then I guess she was like the one producing the film. So she asked me to come out, and like in Souk, I just had a drone. I was really serious about drones. She asked me to come out for free because it was an indie film and just be a drone op for the film. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that for sure. Like, definitely. But I remember that week, a little side note here, I crashed my drone. I lost it. And I couldn't get a new one in time. So I was frantically trying to find a drone to borrow from somebody, but luckily I got one in time. And then, I went on set and I showed up and I was just like, oh my goodness. Like, it was the first time I saw so many people. There was like 40, 50 people there. I was like, what the heck? Like, this is wild. Like, there's someone here just dedicated to bring me food. Like, I thought it was the craziest thing ever. Yeah, like just seeing so many people on set, like never experienced that. Cause I always knew that like movies took a lot goes into a movie, but just seeing it like in person for the first time, I was like, okay, wow. Like, this is pretty wild.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to just, be there for the first time. And it's also, it's I don't know how common it is. I was going to say it's really common, but for myself at least, I often don't, for lack of better saying, smell the roses, enjoy the moment. It's awesome to be able to, whether it was at the time or now, look back on and just kind of cherish what the opportunities that we've been given. Because I think a lot of people turn down free work, especially at the beginning, because they want to go from zero to hero so quickly. The more I talk to videographers, the more I think about my own upcoming in the career. It's all about that and being able to express yourself creatively, like you said before, just getting your foot in the door. And so what came from that job? I'm sure something.
Yeah, no, that's so true. Like, the amount of work that I've gotten in high paying jobs I've gotten from just doing like a free thing for somebody or just doing like this, and like it's really wild. Like people, you're right, people who like refuse to do anything for free is they're missing out, because like there is a certain point and you have to put your foot down that you have to make a living. You can't do everything for free, but you know, if it's like an hour of your time or whatever it is, like I've always had something good come from doing like free work, honestly. And I only really do free work now if I really enjoy it or if it's for myself.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's
same super
experience.
important. Just to do everything. Super important. Do everything you can. But what came from that is I got to meet the cinematographer, Daniel. I don't know his last name. I don't even think I ever got to know his last name, but I just got to meet people in the industry and, you know, super friendly, and like just got asked to go work on some other indie films in the future. It was just like great getting to meet all these people. So those connections I got were priceless. So now if I want to go make my own indie film and I can get a small budget for one, then I can call these people, and I've worked with them. They've worked with me, and now they know that I exist. Because how are they ever going to know you exist if you never show up there?
Yeah, no, there's so many reasons we could talk about. That could be its own podcast. Why to show up why do free work?
Yeah.
How do you approach going from assisting roles, like, or just a drone op role, to taking on your own projects, like that big music video that you're talking about? How do you approach something like that? Because a lot of people, whatever you want to call it, may not have the confidence, for lack of better words.
Yeah, it's a good question. I kind of just personally, I try to like learn and like listen to what's going on as much as possible, and like kind of see the decisions that get made and just try my best. Or even if like it's super annoying, and I'm sure people don't really enjoy this, but if someone makes like a decision, I'd be like, oh, like why did you do it that way? Like, what was your reasoning behind it? Not that not in like a like questioning way, like a genuine like, oh, well, why did you choose this over that?
It can be
super curious and
often misconstrued, or whatever the proper word is there. Again, I'm doing a lot of shots in the dark tonight, but I'm the same way. I'm definitely the same way.
Yeah, I'd say that's, and then you get to watch other people make the mistakes and be like, okay, I know not to do that now. And so that's how it kind of goes from, you know, being an assistant role and then being able to lead your own team. Is you have to make your own mistakes, but boy, is it really awesome to have someone else make the mistake and then you can learn from their mistake.
Yeah.
So you don't have to make it.
If only we as humankind realize that, learn from our history, right? But
yeah.
How did you get your first media pass for a club event?
I think it was through you, for sure. Let me just think. Yeah, it was you asked me, I think you were sick or I don't know what was going on, but one night you asked me to go film for Upstairs. I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Like, that sounds awesome.
So just to loop that together, I guess that's how things that can come from free work, because you and I originally met doing free video shoots and just walking around and shooting stuff and creating. And I did not even realize that. So that's hilarious. But tell me about the experience.
It was interesting because, you know, I was still like not really going to the clubs too much, but I went to the clubs a lot of times before that. So it was cool. It was cool. Like, kind of felt like a G. You get to walk through and skip the line, and you know what I mean? It's kind of cool. And then everyone comes up to you. But boy, the one pet peeve about doing club work, just if people are in the industry, they probably already know, and you probably know.
Let me guess. Can you take my photo?
Yeah, that's it. 100%.
Yeah, I got it. Obviously.
Oh my gosh, that's 100% my biggest pet peeve. I want to get like a.
You got to just
sign.
Start saying yes, and then you just point the camera at them. Oh, we don't have a flash tonight. It's fine. Don't worry.
Yeah. Oh, it's the worst.
That's a classic.
Yeah, so I'd say that's how I got my first kind of media pass, and then it was with like an event company, and then just working with that event company and being in the venues, got super lucky that one night, it was New Year's, the manager was like, hey, I really need someone video for New Year's, like just the club itself. And then, you know, I went and did it. And then that ended up being like a awesome ongoing relationship and one of my first real retainer clients that I had. So it's thanks to you.
I'm not looking, I didn't mean for that to segue to that, but yeah. So talk about how it's important to have have fun and how it'll reflect in the content. Because especially for things like club events, party events, events mainly where you're trying to like reflect almost an emotion of like the night and like not just a bunch of different dancing, and it could be from any night. It's like a story, I guess, as well as a emotion. How did you approach staying professional but also having fun? Because I think that's something that I always had to tip my hat towards you for, because you're so good at that, especially for those club events.
Yeah, I'd say, because it's just really hard to work in that environment because you know what, everyone is drinking, everyone is drunk, everyone is offering you drinks, and you're just like, no, like I'm okay. And you kind of just really have to, I don't even know, because there was times when I would go, especially when I was working every weekend in the nightclub, like I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is the last thing I want to do. But I think I just got kind of lucky that being around, I guess it means I'm slightly extroverted. Like when I got in there and the energy and like it just made me feel pretty good because, you know, everyone is for the most part pretty happy in there and like they're having a really awesome night. So just being around that energy kind of helped me, you know, keep my mood up and be happy. And then just to be professional, it's you kind of have to do it. Like there's a lot of like scenarios where like, oh my goodness, like what do I do right now? Like this is wild. Like I have to stay professional and everything and it's telling you not to, but you're like, I have to stay professional. So you kind of just have to like have the discipline to realize that you're at work and you know, you're not clubbing. Like you are at work, this is your job, and you just have to really stick with that and be pretty disciplined.
All right. So I know you're like, we're both from the PNW, Northwest Canada. How does that come out in your content to kind of switch it from club events to nature content? I know your personal content has a lot of PNW tones to it and kind of just emotions. I mean, again, another question here is what are your other hobbies? So it kind of ties in there.
Yeah, definitely kind of, you got it right there. Just a lot of nature stuff. Honestly, it's pretty awesome to live where we live because, you know, it's even in Victoria in the city, like there's still so many parks around to go to, but if you drive 45 minutes to an hour, you are like in the middle of nowhere and like some of the most beautiful scenery, in my opinion, in the world. Super wonderful and kind of makes me think like, wow, I should probably go out there more if it's only an hour away. Yeah, some of my other hobbies, I actually have like a ridiculous amount of hobbies, which I find that I have so many hobbies that I don't get to do any of them because I have so many now. Some of the things that I do, which I really need to incorporate into my videography way more, is like I do a lot of free diving and scuba diving, which I mean, like, why am I not bringing a GoPro with me to film? Like, I should be doing that, but for some reason I just don't. And I also love to surf, so love surfing and hiking. I feel like most people like hiking, but pretty serious about hiking, I'd say.
I mean, just because first of all, just because a lot of people like it doesn't mean that you can't like it.
Yeah, it's true.
I like F1, so I'd be sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think it's interesting you say that you don't bring a camera when you scuba dive, but I think you do it on purpose subconsciously because I find, we were talking about this again like the other day, going on logging roads and going 4x4ing is a really good time for me to just kind of check out.
Yeah.
I, until recently, haven't even remotely thought of the idea of bringing a camera. So it's kind of the same idea. I think it's really important for any creative, especially. This is kind of only for the creatives listening. It takes a lot out of you. It's really important to do other things and not even think about the creative side of life. So yeah, it's cool that I'm glad you mentioned the scuba and the free diving because yeah, I think that's a really cool hobby.
Yeah, it's pretty great, and it's pretty hard for people to get a hold of you or to really do any work when you're 100 feet underwater. So it's pretty nice. It's a good way to escape everything. You don't have to worry about your phone or nothing because no one can get a hold of you.
So kind of switching again here, totally different question, but back to videography. What do you need to work on? I think I mentioned it already in the first podcast episode, but for me, I recently have been working on color correction.
I always thought your colors were really good, by the way, Dan.
I mean, we're our own worst critics, right? So
yeah.
Thank you, obviously. But it's something I definitely think I need to work on. And I'm sure what you're about to say, Tanner was the first guest. What he said he needed to work on, I thought he was great at as well. So we're our own worst critics, but I just think it's good to talk about because yeah, just hearing other videographers talk about things that they're whatever, like self-conscious or think they need to improve on, is really important, just to know that we're all kind of not a lot better off than each other. I don't know how to put it. Yeah.
I honestly think I need to work on everything. Like, just I know I could just be so much better if like going back to the beginning, how he said it's kind of hard to, sit down and like learn things like a new software when you have so much like client work that has to be done a certain way, and you don't really have to, like, there's like a formula to it, and you can put a little bit of sauce on it, but there's a formula. So I think like I could really, like, the main thing is putting like a little more sauce into my videos and making them a little more faster pace, kind of.
I know what you mean. Yeah. And that's hard to do and express in client work, because I can definitely relate with that, with the years of running my own business, which you obviously had all about and you were involved in. Yeah, it's kind of one of the reasons why I started like the motorsport thing, is to be able to just do my own creative work, and kind of like the whole thing. We use it as a term as videographers, add sauce on a certain section or add like our own creative style to a part of a video, but it's really nice to be able to do the whole video with that mindset, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you've been killing it. I just got to say that too. Man, I love seeing all your videos. You took like such a lane, and you were just killing it. Like, oh man, every time you drop a video, I'm excited to see it.
I really appreciate hearing that.
Yeah.
I
just gotta throw that in there.
I'm terrible at receiving compliments, but thank you very much.
Same.
But let's go back to you, because I think like your creative work is clearly different than your commercial work. And I would say that your commercial work does have its Mac flair on it. You know what I mean? Like it definitely has that sauce. I'm picturing that recent project you did on the group of friends going down to the beach drinking whatever beverage that was.
Yeah, that was a fun project.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the type of thing where you're able to completely have your creative eye, and I think that reflects in the video. So again, it's kind of bringing back to I need to improve on color, and you said what you said about my color grading, which I appreciate, but yeah, it's the same thing, right? So I don't think necessarily you need to work on that.
Yeah, fair enough. Something I've everyone always said this, especially at the beginning when I was first learning and following all the influencer people. A really important thing they said was you gotta find your style, and your style will come with time. And maybe that's true. I feel like I still haven't really found my style yet. I'm still
I feel like that's really common though.
Yeah,
I feel that's really common, and I feel like we don't know a lot of times what our style is, and even though we're creating it, because I would have said the same thing until I heard you say that.
Yeah, absolutely. So just working my way towards it, finding it, and figuring it out. Maybe you'll never.
Well, it looks really good from the outside.
Know.
So yeah, I think that's really common though for any creator, entertainer, whatever you want to call it, any creator in general.
Appreciate it. I don't know, is this just me? When people, especially people who don't do video and stuff, do you have, because as you mentioned, you said you had a hard time, accepting compliments. I'm the same way. And for some reason, when people compliment me, I always just find it literally, it's just I'm just crazy. But people are oh, your video was super awesome. And I just, for some reason, it sounds not condescending, but it's it feels oh, here's a pat on the head, good job.
I don't know, man. I think it's something I've been thinking about recently too, and I wish I knew the answer. Let's just put it like that. I mean, I really do, because I'm the exact same. You don't get any comments on a video, and then you feel unhappy about it, and then you get 10 comments on a video and you feel unhappy about it. So I don't really understand. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know.
We'll bring in another guest therapist on the next episode.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, related to that though, how do you deal with the ups and downs of being a creative? Because I think it's becoming more common to talk about, especially in almost 2024 here. But it's such a, in my experience at least, up and down scenario, industry, career, whatever. How do you deal with that? And do you experience that?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I'm a not, overly emotional person, but definitely in tune with my emotions. So some days I'm just oh my goodness, what am I doing? I look, especially those stints where there's nothing in the pipeline, like just last week, I finished all the client work I had, and I didn't have any bookings right away. And I was like, okay, like, gosh, like I have nothing to do right now. Like, should I go get a job? Like, what am I gonna do? But of course, there's always something to do, like doing business development, and like I'm building like an actual proper production company, which takes a boatload of work on the back end to set up. But even with all that stuff, I felt like, man, like I don't like, what should I do? Like I just felt so low, and I'd look at all my friends who were, especially my roommates, are going to their 9 to 5 jobs every day, and they're getting their paycheck every Friday or every second Friday, where I haven't been paid by a client in like 2 months because they're late or something like that. And it is really just tough to do that. And and there's something like when I left the last like proper salary job I had, someone said to me, it was like, okay, like it's time it's either sink or swim. Like now is the time. And I found that like, okay, I've been swimming, but sometimes it gets like really tiring to keep swimming. And you're like,
the treading
man, like,
water moments can be really tough. So another question on top of that, because I've experienced everything you're talking about here, is how has your experience of running a business and being a freelance creator, because that is a business, and all the business duties that come with that, how has that affected your creative side?
Oh man, I think having to do all the business side of things really does put a damper on it, because there's a lot of times where I'm like, wow, like I love doing all the sales and the emails and like negotiating budgets, and I feel really good about it. But then there's a lot of times when I'm like, wow, like I would rather just like have someone do all this and like just bring me a job, and I will do the job and be super happy. So it really does affect it. And when you like, just going all the way back to the beginning again, like from that music video that I'm shooting that is with my buddies, or client work, like the limitations really do affect you, honestly. Because like, just for example, today I was sitting around doing a bunch of revisions for client work and our client project, just really kind of boring corporate testimonial video. And I just spent 8 hours in front of the computer. It was like I was just checking boxes, which is nice because then you know exactly what you need to do. You don't really have to think about it. But it is quite draining when you're like, what, I would really like to just do my own thing the way I want to do it. So it's really tough, and you definitely have to find a good balance. That's like the most important thing. And yeah.
I was talking to some friends about this at dinner the other day, and I think like a lot of videographers struggle at the start with revisions in general, because it's your creative eye on something, you've sent it to them, and then someone said, again, it's kind of like that comment thing we were talking about before, where, yeah, we like it, but we don't like this. And you pretty much, for any creative I've talked to, you don't hear that first part. You hear the part they don't like. So it's really hard to get over that hurdle as a creative at the start. And that's something that I think personally would never do this, but I think I'm pretty proud of how I've dealt with that. Is you kind of have to just check out. You just get, and if it's bringing you down so much to the point where you're not getting more work consistently because of it, then go start your own personal page and do your client work on the side, like everyone has done in the past. Yeah.
Oh, just like that. Like what I was going to say is how I managed to is kind of like, I really just, disassociate myself and kind of, excuse me, I kind of just check out from the project, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, whatever. And which is really bad because, it's a creative thing.
And I mean, don't take this wrong if any clients are listening, but it's like, the example is like a painter painting a picture for himself or his partner, and then being commissioned to go paint a painting of of like a client. It's not going to be the same creative process.
No. The way I've always looked at it is, they're paying me money for the video, and I've definitely learned the lesson to put in a certain amount of revisions and like structure the way the revisions work. That's the lesson I learned. But the way I look at it is, honestly, they're paying me for the video. They want the video that they want, and I really have no problem making any changes. And I honestly, like, especially for corporate work, if it is a little more of a creative project, like especially with some like music videos, you're like, wow, I really like this, and then the musician comes back, like, this sucks. It's like a little bit different because it's, with corporate stuff, it's always like a technical thing. Oh, can you change this person's name? Can you change the font here? So it's just like, whatever, like I could care less. But yeah, it's you really have to kind of disconnect, and it really becomes a challenge when you are doing more. Cause that's why I don't really do that much music videos. Like, there's a whole laundry list of
I
why,
think it's
but
so important for people to work a job before creativity, like a creative job, because
yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if it wasn't very common when you and I were entering the videography world, I guess, but it's probably a lot more common now, to go out of high school to university perhaps, and then straight into a creative realm. But I think I learned so much from being a mechanic, working in a kitchen, quote unquote a mechanic. Yeah, and just these types of labor jobs where you get, like you're saying, sitting down behind a computer for 8 hours and editing quote unquote meaningless stuff. It's a dream. Like if you compare it to that. So I think that's really important to have. It's not anything to do with videography. I think this is just a life skill.
Yeah, absolutely.
just-
I agree. Like, I came from a construction background and just did like a whole bunch of, random things. And I had a diving business at one point. So I was still doing business and then dealing with stuff that, it definitely puts it in perspective for sure. Like, I'm sure it'd be a lot more challenging if you went to college or secondary school or whatever, and then straight into a creative field. Like, I don't think, it's person to person, but I feel like doing normal jobs really hardens you, especially like the kind of jobs that we've done. Like, I'm sure when you're a mechanic and like when I was framing, like, with some interesting characters, some really like people that were just like not great to be around, but you just kind of have to figure it out and go along with it and sort it out. So it definitely does harden you, and I think that's like a huge.
It
benefit.
definitely makes the interesting characters on set a lot
yeah, true,
less interesting.
yeah, oh yeah.
So what would you be doing if you weren't a videographer?
What would I be doing? There's a couple things. Like, I still, before this, I had my eye on a couple of things I wanted to do. Like I said, I was running a diving business that was doing okay, but it's just such a dangerous job, and I was just like, my body wasn't ready to handle that kind of job for the rest of my life. And I kind of realized if I do that, I would probably die by the time I'm 40. So I was kind of looking and wanted to be like a yacht broker. It's kind of funny, either a yacht captain or a yacht broker, because I really enjoy boats, and being on the water is a very important like part of my life, being near the water at least. So I figured with either of those jobs, and I could be decently happy with it. Really glad I'm not doing that, but if all else fails, I could see myself being a yacht broker for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. You're definitely a water boy, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
And not for a football team.
Yeah.
So for somebody who isn't working as a videographer, but maybe wants to be, what are your tips for like aspiring videographers or just creatives in general? Maybe someone just starting out, or maybe what would you tell yourself at the beginning?
Spend time learning. Like, learn as much as you can. Watch everything. Like, dedicate. You really have to do like work the 5 to 9. Stay up as late as you can, and just learn as much as possible. Like, that is the biggest thing. Learn about everything. Go read some business books. Read, I don't know, Patrick Bet-David is someone I listen to on business all the time. Like, just learn as much as you possibly can, and then also save all your videos. Keep everything, because even like the crappy ones, just save them. Buy tons of hard drives and make sure you double up on your hard drives, which I'm sure you understand that, Dan. Just double up on your hard drives.
100% agree with that.
Yeah.
I was talking to a photographer recently about this, and he sent me like a quote unquote like not important photo to the client world, but super important to personally. And I just simply asked, do you have this printed? And it's we overlook that, but definitely agree with you. Buy as many hard drives as you can afford, and then go borrow some money and get more, because
yeah.
do not throw away files.
No, keep it all, even the project files, keep everything. Like, it'll come in handy in the future, trust me. Like, it will. Even crappy, the first videos you take, just keep them. Keep it.
What's your tip to go get your first media pass?
First is get out there and do some free things, and try to see a big thing that I'm kind of more realizing this year more now that it like, I definitely am not like saying that like I'm established, but like people are calling me, other videographers are calling me and like, yo, like, do you want to work on this project, blah, blah, blah. And get out, because there's a massive community. Like, I mean, I'm sure it's like this in most places, but in Victoria, huge community of videographers. So if you can get in touch and make friends and be friends and just go do some like free shoots with people, then that's how you do it. Because that's exactly how it worked for me with you. Like, we met at a job and then we were like, oh, you have a camera? I have a camera. Oh, well, like, we should go hang out. And then we hung out and you introduced me to Tanner, and then it just like snowballed into this. And then next thing you know, I have a media pass. Next thing you know, I'm like, I have a retainer client, and it's just snowball. So the best tip would go meet other videographers and get connected. And you have to go into it too, like, because you can't go into it like you're wanting something. Like, you have to be genuine, which a lot of people can sniff out right away. So I guess that's kind of a no-brainer thing to say, but my tip would be to go meet other videographers.
Yeah, that's a great tip. That's a great perspective. I don't think a lot of people would say that approach, and I 100% agree. All right, so let's switch over to the quick fire round question. I haven't come up with a better name for it yet, so let's just get right into the questions. You ready? You ready, Mac?
I'm ready.
All right, what was your first camera?
Canon T3.
If you had one focal length to choose from and shoot with the rest of your life, what would it be? No zoom.
24 mil.
Favorite movie ever?
Pirates of the Caribbean. I love it. I love Pirates of the Caribbean.
I'm not hating that answer either. I'm loving this so far. What's your favorite music video?
I struggled on this one. I was thinking about this, but there's so many. I gotta say, I don't know, it's really simple, but Flashing Lights by Kanye West. It's not that intricate. It's pretty simple, and I just kind of like it.
Doesn't have to be crazy. Yeah, no, that's sometimes the most cinematic. Who's your favorite director? That could be for a music video. That can be for a movie.
Guy Ritchie for sure. Yeah, I love Guy Ritchie movies.
Favorite place to travel?
I really want to go to Italy. I've never been there, but planning a trip soon enough. So Tofino, I've been to Tofino. Yeah, but probably Tofino is like an awesome spot to go.
Yeah, that makes sense for someone like you.
Yeah.
In a good way, you know what I mean. Favorite time of day to shoot? And my answer is golden hour. So
yeah, mine's blue hour. I like it like either in the morning or just after golden hour. I like the kind of like darker tone, like kind of, a little bit of light, and yeah, I really like that. If it's foggy too, it's the best if it's foggy.
Favorite backdrop, nature or city, urban, forest?
Honestly, I gotta say, I'm a big nature guy, but I love filming in the city. I find, like, unless it's like a beautiful landscape, it's hard to make nature look good in unique ways. That's not just...
I think travel photography, this is meant to be a quick round, but I think travel photography is probably one of the most hard to do things. Okay, last one here. Win the lottery and retire, or do you keep creating? Never be able to recharge for a project.
Oh, interesting. This is a quick round, I know, but can I still use my camera and make videos?
Yeah, I'll allow it.
Okay, yeah, then win the lottery, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to turn down, for sure.
If it was lottery or keep creating, I'd probably keep creating. I'd be pretty sad if I couldn't.
Thank you so much, man. It's awesome to chat with you, as usual. Obviously, anytime is a pleasure. And yeah, thank you so much for taking it so seriously, because the perspective answers that you've given, I think, are really useful.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. I can't wait to go shoot soon.
Go follow him on Instagram, plug your stuff, and then let's sign out here.
Marc's Videos, MARCS Videos, and then B&Bmedia.com. You can find me there or on IG. Yeah.
All right, well, everyone go follow him. Thank you very much. As usual, this is another Media Pass episode, and see you next time.